Section of the sales conversation, which is one of the most important parts. Common mistake, right? So the reason why this part is important, finding the problem, and most importantly, helping the prospect realize what the problem is because if there's no problem, there's no solution. Because how businesses are built is businesses are there to provide value, and how value is created is by solving problems. And it's not almost like is there a problem or not? It's almost a degree of how much the prospect realizes what their problem is, right? And so in this section, in the problem section, you don't need to get them to a point where like, oh, my life will end if if this happens. You don't need to get to that point, but they do need to realize a tangible problem, okay? Tangible problem, how long the problem is going on, and also why the problem is a problem, okay? Meaning that how it's actually affecting them. And if you can, help them realize the root cause of the problem. The reason why I put the fourth as the fourth is because at times they just don't know. And so if you don't get that, then it's just what it is. But you got to help them realize as much as possible. So let's kind of go through it. Okay. So and prior to this, what we help them realize is, okay, so what are they doing to get the desired outcome now, right? The reason why we do that is because from that, we can attach a problem to it. So at that point, usually we'll ask one of two questions, depending on what you sell and depending on the type of prospect you're talking to. Typically, you can ask, well, do you like it? Or you can ask, well, is it working? Okay. So there's different variations of this. How I learned from like Jeremy, for example, is, well, do you like what you're doing for a living? I tried asking that way. For me, it just kind of felt I tried to do that. It got some responses. It just felt a bit off for me. And so how I saw Matt asking is like, well, do you like it? Was it working? As simple as that. For me, this seems more conversational. I found that I actually get better answers asking it this way. So if you're selling BizOp, typically when you ask them, well, do you, what are you doing for a living now? Then do you like it? That question tends to get better answers, right? So you've been working as a nurse for 5 years. Well, do you like it? And then you get a yes or no. But let's say if you're talking to people where they're already doing the thing to get the outcome they want. For example, if they're already trading, right? If they're already trading to try to make more money, if they're already doing something to try to lose weight, if they're already doing something to try to meet more girls, let's say they're using dating apps, let's say they're using keto diets, right? They're already doing a thing. So at that point, you can ask, well, is it working? Okay. But let's go through the do you like questions first, right? Oh, do you like it? And then at that point, they'll say yes or no. And the reason why we ask it this way, even though in traditional sales sense, they say asking yes or no question is bad, is because it gives you predictable paths. So what you want to do in your sales conversations is you want to ask questions in a way where there's only one or two, three max, but ideally one or two types of different answers you can get. Okay. So it may not be the exact wording of the answer, it's types of answers. For example, you can either get a yes or no from this question. It makes it very predictable because what that does is that now you know exactly where to take the conversation. You can steer the conversation in a way where you like it to go. It's very, very powerful. So if they say, yes, I like it. Well, okay, great. What do you like about it? And they'll say, well, it's a fulfilling job. Da, 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 da. I mean, it sounds like it's going, really good. Is there anything you would change about either the type of work you do or maybe the financial or time freedom you're getting from that, if you could? So this is a BizOp type answer because, again, I think the two truths question, I learned it from Jeremy, but I think he learned from Michael Oliver. I'm not quite sure. But a traditional two truths question to ask you, like, was there anything you would change if you could? That's a very broad question. If you have beautiful tonality, then you can get them to answer in a certain way. I found that I got like all different types of answers. Well, the prospect will be like, well, what do you mean? They got a bit confused. So what I learned from Matt Ryder is that you want to give them either two paths, right? So you can either give them, is there anything you change about the process of that thing? Or anything you change about the outcome of that thing? You give them one or two, that's the different options. So in a BizOp, the process would be like, well, is there anything you change about the type of work you do or the financial or time freedom you're getting from it? Because financial and time freedom, that's the outcome, right? So in that case, they'll answer something like, yeah, I'm not making enough money. I'm working too many hours. Or yeah, it's just I hate my job because I'm an introvert and I got to be around people all the time. You get a very more specific answer. Now, if you're selling something like business coaching, helping people grow their business, dating coaching or fitness coaching, where you're helping them improve on the thing. Because a BizOp is like they're doing completely something new, right? Which is why you ask the do you like question. But For something like an improvement offer, quote unquote, type of thing, then you can ask something like, "Oh, so is there anything to change about either the way you're generating the leads, or I guess the way the outcome you're getting from that, if you could, right? The way you're doing X, the way you're getting dates, the way you're losing weight, or the results you're getting from that, if you could." You can ask it that way, okay? And then after that point, you get an answer. Now, if they say, "Oh, is it working or do you like it?" and they say no, then you can just go into like, "Oh, what don't you like?" or "What's not working?" Okay. At that point, you'll get typically one of two different types of answers again. Okay. Either the prospect tells you the problem or the prospect tells you desired outcome. As an example, if you say, "Is there anything you'd change if you could?" or "What don't you like?" and they say, "Oh, I'm not making enough money." That is a clear problem, right? It's a negative. "I'm working too many hours. I don't like my job because I gotta be out in the sun and I gotta carry heavy metal." There's a problem based. It's very easy to probe into that. Okay. Now, another scenario that may happen is that they tell you a desired outcome, positive based answer, meaning that, "Yeah, I'd like to make more money. I'd like to work less hours. Yeah, I'd like to work in a better environment." Okay. Or "I'd like to get better results with this. I'd like to do it in a quicker time." In that case, I couldn't understand what to do in that case scenario, because in my mind I was like, I think that's good, but I don't think it's not good. Because what you want to do is, that's still a desired outcome. That's not a problem, right? Because the prospect is here, the current situation. They're trying to get to here to the desired situation. You got to find the problem, which is in the middle, right? There's the roadblock blocking them. Reason why is because if they don't know what's blocking them, they don't feel like they need a solution, because they're like, "Well, I could probably get there on my own." Right? So which is why you have to find a problem. Now, how do we do that? I found that this question is one way of doing it. There's a bunch of different questions you can ask, but this is my go-to one. Okay. So you ask something like, "Okay, so what have you seen in your quote area that has you looking for desired outcome?" As an example, let's say they want to make more money, okay, in their job, and they're working a job. Well, what have you seen in your job that has you looking to make more money? So, what have you seen in your job that has you wanting to make more money? What have you seen in your job that's been making you want to work less hours? If you're selling like business coaching, for example, or what have you seen in your business that has you looking for a better lead generation strategy? What have you seen in your results in your losing weight that has you looking for a better diet? What have you seen in your results with your dates in your dating life that has you looking for a better dating strategy? Right? So when you do that, what kind of answers do you get? You usually get like, "What have you seen your ex?" Seen, that's a visual word, right? So now they have to go back and be like, okay, well, because I'm not making enough money. Boom, you got the problem. Well, because I'm not getting enough leads. Boom, you got a problem. I'm not losing weight quick enough. Boom, I'm not getting enough dates. Boom. You see that? And so I actually learned this question, "What have you seen what have you seen?" question. I learned it from Marco Cortese. It's just that the way he was asking it was like, "Well, what have you seen in your like what have you seen that's making you want to get more leads?" So he didn't even include that part, like, "What have you seen in your ex?" He just said like, "What have you seen that's making you get outcome?" And when I asked that, prospects just got confused. Maybe the way Marco was asking was like beautiful, and like the way I was asking was like not good, but I couldn't figure it out. So which is why I made the question more specific. What have you seen in your area? What have you seen in your weight loss? What have you seen in your results with dating? What have you seen in your results with your business that has you looking for a better lead generation strategy? I find that when I do this, I get a more specific, concrete problem based answer. Okay. So this is something that I realized because I was breaking down all my calls and I realized I saw a pattern, right? I'm like, "Oh, it's either this or this. It's a decision tree." Right? So you want to analyze your calls like this, because now you can realize like, "Oh, these types of answers happen." In that case, if I'm going to get this pretty much all the time, one of these two, then what do I got to do to get the answers I need to get? So I kind of started thinking that way, which is why I kind of be able to understand its decision tree. So at this point, you'll get a problem. Okay. And when you get a problem, then usually say it'll be something vague. So if it's vague, you want to clarify, right? If they say like, "Well, the growth of the business is like, it's just a bit, the leads are inconsistent." Inconsistent? Asking the inconsistent? Like, what's going on? Kind of curious, kind of a little bit confused. The tone is very important, especially your facial expression. Inconsistent? If they're getting like, "Yeah, I'm just not getting the results that I want." Not getting the results that you want? Or what do you mean? You can either repeat back The Chris Voss talks about this. He calls it mirroring. You can repeat back like the key, like 1 to 3 keywords, or you can just be like, well, what do you mean? And then they'll expand on it. And then they'll be like, yeah, like one time I'm getting a lot of leads, but sometimes I'm not. I'm getting some profits from my trading, but sometimes I'm not. Oh, like how long has it been going on? Or if they say like, I lost a lot of money from trading. Oh, how much? So you can kind of, it doesn't have to be like, what do you mean, or how long, or how often. You can be like, just, common sense of the conversation is like, I lost a lot of money from crypto. Then you want to naturally ask, well, how much did you lose? And they'll be like, I lost like 20 grand. Oh, I mean, that's not bad, but how often does that happen? Happens like every week. Okay, so you lost 20 grand, 4 weeks in a month. So you lost 80, like 80 grand a month you'd be losing out on. They'd be like, yeah. Oof. Right? Now, depending on what the problem is, if the impact of the problem is not clear, like how the problem is affecting them, then you want to ask an implication question, right? I think Spin Selling talks about this too, but how I learned from Jeremy in like finding about the impact of the problem is how he asks is like, well, has that an impact on you? I started asking in that way. That was good. But I found that when I do this, what I learned from Matt is how Matt asks the impact question. Is I found that this works better for me. It feels better to me because it feels more conversational. So if they say something like, "Yeah, I'm just working too many hours." Oh, how many hours are you working? It's like 60 hours a week, right? Oh, how long have you been working those hours for? I mean, the last 5 years. Okay, and I mean, you're working those hours. What does that do? It's like, well, I can't spend more time with my family, right? Then boom, you got that, right? Or you can ask in that case, be like, oh, so you working the 60 hours a week in your job? I mean, what is that taking you away from? So I can spend more time with my family. Well, what do you mean? Well, I'm missing my daughter's dance recital. I mean, and when you're missing your daughter's dance recital, I mean, because like, I've been on the other end. How does it make you feel as a father? You're kind of asking a concerned way. Bezab, you can go more emotional in the problem section, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I just don't feel that good." Yeah, well, that could be some trouble for sure. But I mean, why look at getting into something like trading to make more money? Why not just, I don't know, man, just uh, and you just input either the alternative option that could be an objection, or just keep doing more of what you've been doing. Okay, so like, I don't know, why not just work less hours in your job or something, or get a job where you can work less hours? They'd be like, oh, then I can't do that because jobs you can do that. You know what I mean? And so this is a natural, like, conversation just flows, right? So the framework is, but why look at maybe getting help with area and to get outcome? Why not just, I don't know, keep doing more what you've been doing? And the answers you want to get here is because that'll never work. That's the answers you want, or that'll be too slow, or that'll never work. Those are the answers you want. So why look at maybe, getting a better lead generation strategy to grow the business? Why not just, I don't know, man, just keep relying on more referrals, ask more referrals or something. They'd be like, because, that'll never work. Referrals are like too inconsistent. That makes sense. So then that's the problem section. So you got to understand the outcome that you're trying to get from each question, right? So from here, you're trying to find a tangible problem, right? Tangible problem is like, I'm working too many hours. I'm not making enough money. We're not getting enough leads, so on and so forth, right? I'm not getting enough dates. I'm not losing enough weight, right? And then you clarify, what does that actually mean? Get them to expand. How long or how often has that been going on? Reason why we want to find that out is because we want to expand and agitate the pain. Because if they've been struggling for like longer, it agitates the pain more. So if they say something like, what's a long time? You haven't gotten the answer, because long time can be subjective. Well, long time, brother, are we talking like 2 weeks too long, 2 months too long? What are we talking? Yeah, it's been like 2 months. Okay, that makes sense. So you need to get the answer. Okay. And then, why look at X instead of Y? You need to get the answer of, well, I'm not, it'll never work as it'll take too long. And also here, how the problem is affecting them. You do need to get that. Okay. How that sounds like, depending on what you sell. If it's BizOp, I'm missing my daughter's dance recital. Because of that, I feel like I feel bad about that. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, so I can't pay bills. Those kind of stuff, right? Or if they're not, it's like a business coaching thing. Or I'm not getting enough leads, so I'm not able to grow the business. The business is stuck. Okay, and it's frustrating. You want to get those types of answers, right? So you need to compute that in your brain in real time. Have I gotten what I needed? Yes, move on. No, then I need to clarify and probe. And how I clarify and probe, I can ask these types of questions. So you want to have that, right? So it's not about the questions, it's about the answers you get. Questions are simply a means to an end to get the answers they need to get. Okay. If you haven't gotten it, clarify and probe. If they're answered it, you don't need to ask the question. You can just move on. All right. Next training.